So, why do top students tend to improve faster than anyone else? You may be a student that has asked this question before, and I know I've seen this question from many of my students, and they ask it with a lot of frustration. They're doing the work, but why are they not improving like the other students? And I'm here to tell you it's not because those high flyers are way smarter than everyone else, and it's not because they are working longer hours, and it's got nothing to do with how lucky they are. Maybe there's a slight bit of difference because of that, but the real difference is that these top students, the ones who know how to make progress really quickly, it's because they are studying closer to the edge of learning. That's what the average students are not doing. Average students think progress comes from doing more notes, more revision, more time clocked at the desk. But doing more is not the same as improving. And that's what our top students know. They don't waste their time in the comfort zone. They don't reread notes that they already know. They don't revise the topics that they're already familiar with. They don't try to feel busy by doing the easy stuff. No. What they do is spend their time with the difficult stuff. They pay attention to the gap. They play in that area where they know they're going to make progress. They notice the paragraph that they still can't write clearly. They notice the question type that they keep getting wrong. And they notice the thing that they can understand in class, but when they have to do it on their own, they can't do it. So they know that area, that gap, where they kind of know their stuff, but it's tripping them up. And that's the uncomfortable area. That's the messy edge. That's the gap. It is uncomfortable, but that discomfort is really useful because it's the edge. It's that point where you're stretched but not lost. The point where it's a little bit uncomfortable, but you can do it. That's the point where the real learning is happening. Most students, the ones who are not making the improvements, they're the ones who hit that edge and it feels frustrating. It feels slow. It makes them feel a little bit less than capable and they back off. They retreat. But the top students feel that and they know that's the point, that's the gap, that's what they're looking for, and they push on through. That is metacognition in action. And that means being really aware of their learning and being aware of how to learn clearly. They know that that's the area that will make the difference. If they can push into that gap, then they can make a big improvement. And that's what a lot of students are not doing. They tend to feel that and then they back away. They cover it over with vague things like, I'm bad at this, so I'm not going to try it. Or I just need to revise more, which is a bit of a cop out not to play in that hard edge. And I just need to try harder. But those are vague responses to a question. They should be coming up with much better responses to that. Yep. So things like, I can remember the point, but I cannot explain it precisely, is much better. That's where a student knows that I can do a bit of it, but I keep getting something wrong. I need to work on that. They say things like, I understand the content, but I panic when I have to apply it. Then we can make an action that's going to fix that. And that's what the top students are doing, and that's why they're improving. They would ask something like, I keep getting feedback that my clarity is not good. Why is that? Well, obviously, I need to work on clarity, and that's the thing I'm going to attack. That's a much stronger way to learn, and that's a much better way to play. And it matters. But effort without direction is just a waste of time. And that's what our top players know, and that's what they do. So, what do? First, they identify that weakness, not emotionally, not responding with panic as some players do. They look at it and they look specifically, what do I need to work on? Secondly, they practice close to that weakness. They don't run away from it. And they don't do just the endless looking at notes. They spend their time practicing properly. They test themselves. They do the retrievals or the writing practice or the quizzes or the flashcards, or they do the practice questions and they ask for help if they need to. Thirdly, They use feedback properly. Average students read the feedback and say, okay, I get it, and then move on. But the top students use that feedback like a map. They look for the patterns, they really try to understand, and if they don't understand, they ask the teacher. And then they parrot the feedback back to the teacher, say, am I getting it? And then they practice and they go back and say, have I got it? So that's what the really big time players are doing. Fourth, they keep checking themselves. Okay, every day. What did I improve today? What still feels weak? What am I not sure on? Maybe they rate themselves. I'm 80% sure on writing that English analysis. I'm 50% sure on balance sheets for accounting. So they know where they're at and they're still working on it. Okay, and they look for what's the next problem to solve. That's how you improve faster. Not because learning feels easier for them, but because they respond better when learning feels hard. So, next time you're studying, don't just ask, how long have I got? Don't just go through the notes. Don't just ask, what's on the test? Have I got it? Ask yourself, where is the gap? What's the thing I'm avoiding? Where is the weakness? Where do I have to get better so that I'm a bigger time player? I'm a better student. I'm more capable. Keep asking those questions. Keep going to that messy edge, that gap where you know the improvement's going to come from. Tackle it head on, and you will become a better student. The learning will be much better, not just for the test, not just for school, but for life in general, and things will work out much better. And if this has been any help for you, keep checking in, because we're going to try and keep doing this as part of our mission to help you with innovative learning techniques. So hopefully this one really helped, and we'll see you next time.